Imagine a world on the brink of radical transformation, a world where the traditional political order is challenged, alliances are redefined, and the rules that once governed international relations are rewritten almost overnight. Over the past several years, Donald Trump has emerged not just as a former president or a successful businessman, but as a polarizing figure whose very presence has stirred both fervent support and deep-seated opposition. In this video, we will explore the top 10 reasons why many experts and commentators believe that Trump's ideas and actions have the potential to upend the world as we know it. We begin this journey by delving into the nature of populism, a movement that has gained traction in many parts of the globe. At the heart of this discussion lies the concept of populism, a style of politics that simplifies complex issues into digestible messages and presents solutions that are as direct as they are controversial. Donald Trump's rise to power was built on such a foundation. His rhetoric, which often pitted the common man against a seemingly corrupt and disconnected elite, resonated with millions who felt neglected by traditional political establishments. According to The Guardian, this approach has not only reshaped the political discourse within the United States, but has also influenced political movements in other countries. The simplicity and emotional appeal of populist messages have led to a global trend where sophisticated policy debates are increasingly replaced by black and white narratives, thereby undermining nuanced discussions about governance and the challenges of modern society. Beyond the realm of populism, Trump's economic policies have sparked intense debate and have implications that reach far beyond American borders. His administration's embrace of protectionist measures, trade wars, and sweeping tax reforms was intended to revive domestic industries and protect American jobs. However, these strategies, as reported by BBC News, have also disrupted global supply chains and unsettled international markets, leading many to question the long-term consequences of such policies. If other nations begin to adopt similar protectionist approaches in an attempt to shield their own economies, the result could be a fragmented global economic landscape where the free flow of goods, services, and capital is severely restricted. This potential shift toward economic nationalism could rewrite the rules of international trade and cooperation for decades to come. Trump's approach to foreign policy represents another key factor that might fundamentally alter the international order. Abandoning the traditional multilateralism that has underpinned U.S. foreign relations for generations, he championed an America First agenda that prioritized national interests above all else. This doctrine led to a series of high-profile decisions, such as withdrawing the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement and other significant international treaties. As noted by the New York Times, these moves have not only weakened global initiatives aimed at addressing critical issues like climate change and international security, but have also strained long-standing diplomatic alliances. By shifting the focus to unilateral action and bilateral negotiations, Trump has contributed to an environment where collective problem-solving is sidelined in favor of short-term national gain, thereby destabilizing the intricate web of global cooperation. The ripple effects of such unilateral actions extend into the realm of international alliances. Traditional security pacts like NATO have come under scrutiny during Trump's tenure. His repeated criticisms of the alliance, along with demands that member countries shoulder a greater portion of their own defense spending, have sown seeds of discord among long-standing partners. Reuters has documented how such rhetoric has created an atmosphere of mistrust within the alliance, prompting debates about the future of collective security arrangements in an increasingly uncertain world. The weakening of these alliances may lead to a reconfiguration of global power structures, where nations are forced to rely on bilateral or regional partnerships rather than the broad, multilateral frameworks that have long ensured a semblance of international stability. In addition to these geopolitical shifts, Trump's impact on the media landscape is both profound and far-reaching. Throughout his political career, he demonstrated a keen understanding of how to manipulate the media, leveraging both traditional outlets and emerging digital platforms to broadcast his message directly to the public. By bypassing conventional media channels and engaging directly with audiences on social networks, he not only controlled the narrative, but also altered the relationship between political leaders and the press. The Washington Post has observed that this new model of communication, which emphasizes immediacy and sensationalism, has contributed to the erosion of trust in established news institutions. As alternative sources of information, often unregulated and prone to spreading misinformation, gain prominence, society risks being divided by echo chambers that reinforce pre-existing biases and further polarize public opinion. Another critical dimension to consider is the intersection of technology and politics, a realm where Trump's influence has been particularly significant. His campaigns harness the power of digital tools and social media platforms in unprecedented ways, setting new standards for how political messages are disseminated and consumed. Articles from TechCrunch and Wired have highlighted how these digital strategies not only enabled him to reach a vast audience quickly, but also allowed for the targeted dissemination of tailored content that could sway opinions and mobilize support. This digital revolution in political communication has far-reaching implications. If political actors around the world adopt similar methods, we may see an era where elections and policy debates are increasingly driven by algorithms, data analytics, and online manipulation rather than by traditional human-mediated discourse. The digitalization of politics promises both enhanced connectivity and new vulnerabilities, as cyber attacks and online misinformation campaigns emerge as potent tools in the arsenal of modern political warfare. Trump's tenure has also ignited a broader debate about the erosion of international legal norms and institutions. His willingness to flout established international agreements and norms has raised serious questions about the future of global governance. The Economist has detailed how his administration's approach to international law, marked by unilateral decisions and a dismissive attitude toward established legal frameworks, has undermined the credibility of institutions designed to mediate international disputes and promote cooperation. As nations witness a leading power prioritize its own interests over collective agreements, the risk grows that other countries will follow suit, further weakening the global legal order. Such a trend could lead to a world where international disputes are resolved through power politics rather than through dialogue and diplomacy, creating a climate of unpredictability and potential conflict. The domestic impact of Trump's policies and rhetoric cannot be ignored, as they have significantly contributed to societal polarization and cultural fragmentation. His provocative language and divisive strategies have deepened existing social cleavages, both in the United States and beyond. According to reports from the BBC, the ideological divides exacerbated by his leadership have resonated in other parts of the world, inspiring similar movements that prioritize nationalism and identity politics over inclusive, pluralistic governance. This growing polarization threatens to undermine the social cohesion necessary for stable, functioning democracies. When societies become deeply divided along partisan or cultural lines, the likelihood of constructive dialogue diminishes, paving the way for increased radicalization and social unrest. Nationalism has re-emerged as a potent force in global politics, a trend that many observers attribute directly to Trump's America First ideology. By promoting policies that emphasize national sovereignty and a retreat from international cooperation, he has reinvigorated nationalist sentiments among his supporters and influenced political leaders around the world. The New York Times and Le Monde have both chronicled how this revival of nationalism is prompting countries to reassert their own interests at the expense of broader, collaborative initiatives. In a world facing complex challenges such as climate change, migration, and global terrorism, a retreat into nationalism could spell disaster, as collective action becomes increasingly difficult to achieve. When countries prioritize their own short-term gains over long-term global stability, the delicate balance of international relations is at risk of collapsing, leaving the world vulnerable to both economic and security crises. Despite all the controversy surrounding his policies and public persona, one of Trump's most enduring legacies may be his role as a symbol of radical change. To many, he represents a break from the conventional political order, a figure who challenges established norms and provokes critical debates about the future of democracy and governance in the modern era. As noted in discussions by Foreign Policy, his very presence has forced political analysts, academics, and citizens alike to reconsider what constitutes effective leadership and responsible statecraft. Whether one views him as an innovative disruptor or a dangerous demagogue, there is no denying that Trump's influence has sparked a global conversation about the nature of power, accountability, and the future trajectory of international politics. His symbolic value lies not in the policies he enacted during his tenure, but in the questions he raised about how societies should be organized and how leaders should be held accountable in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. When we bring together these threads, populism, economic reorientation, a new approach to foreign policy, the fracturing of international alliances, the transformation of media and digital communication, challenges to international legal norms, rising societal polarization, the resurgence of nationalism, and the symbolic power of disruptive leadership, it becomes clear that the impact of Donald Trump's political legacy is not confined to the borders of the United States. Rather, his ideas and actions have ignited a series of global debates that touch on virtually every aspect of international relations. The implications of these changes are profound. The world may be witnessing the gradual unraveling of long-established systems of cooperation and governance, replaced by a more fragmented, volatile, and unpredictable global order. This potential shift poses a stark choice for the future. Will the world adapt to these new realities by finding innovative ways to rebuild trust and foster collaboration, or will it descend into a period of intense geopolitical rivalry and isolationism? As we reflect on these developments, it is important to recognize that the discussion is far from over. The future remains uncertain, and the legacy of Trump's political experiment is still unfolding before our eyes. The questions that have been raised throughout this narrative about the balance between national sovereignty and international cooperation, the role of digital technology in shaping public opinion, and the resilience of democratic institutions in the face of populist challenges are not easily answered. Instead, they invite us to think critically about the kind of world we want to create. It is incumbent upon each of us, as informed citizens, to engage in these debates, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to participate in the collective effort to shape a future that is both stable and just. In closing, we must acknowledge that the story of Donald Trump and his impact on the world is not one of simple answers or easy resolutions. It is a complex narrative of ambition, disruption, and the quest for power, one that has set in motion forces capable of reshaping global politics for generations. The media, ranging from The Guardian to The Washington Post, has continuously chronicled these changes, urging audiences to remain vigilant and critical of the emerging trends. As viewers, you are invited to join this conversation. Reflect on what these shifts mean for your own country and for the broader international community. Consider the ramifications of policies that prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability, and think about the role that each of us can play in either exacerbating or mitigating these trends. This video is not just a recounting of events, it is a call to action. It challenges you to look beyond the headlines and to explore the deeper implications of a world that is increasingly defined by uncertainty and rapid change. Whether you see Trump as a catalyst for positive transformation or as a harbinger of disruption, one thing is clear. The choices made in the coming years will determine the future of international relations and the nature of global cooperation. The questions raised by his tenure compel us to examine our own values and priorities and to ask ourselves what kind of world we want to leave for future generations. Thank you for watching this comprehensive exploration of the top 10 facts behind why Donald Trump might turn the world upside down. As you consider the implications of these points, remember that the power to shape the future lies in our collective hands. Stay informed, engage in thoughtful debate, and never stop questioning the narratives presented to you. If you found this video insightful, please subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments below.